Good morning, everybody. Oh my God, look at all these people awake at PorcFest on Saturday morning, the last full day. Most of you probably know Mark Edge from Free Talk Live, but he's getting into other things. This man is walking the walk. I want to tell you what I know about Mark Edge. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jody Underwood, and I'm at Bardo Farm. I'm actually wearing a Bardo shirt today. We're going to have a pig roast later, speaking of pork and bacon, out on the field. A little ad in there, right? And we raise pigs, right? And we do other things, too. The first time I actually met Mark in person, he came up to Bardo for a chicken harvest workshop. Basically, he and Dawn's sitting right here, and learned how to do it. They had chickens. They had to figure out how to do it, and we showed them, and they helped us. It was this community effort. And then they went back and did it themselves, and Neil from Bardo went down and helped Dawn. I don't know how Mark fits into this. And then he started raising pigs, and this year he got his piglets from us, and all I can say is we are very proud. Now he's telling you his story and how he's doing it. And here he is, Mark Edge.
Thanks, Jody. Thank you, Jody. So I want to have a moment of silence for all those suffering with hangovers right now. We know what happened last night, and no one will speak of it. So I do have pigs. I had 2 of them last year. I got them from a local farmer. I just was too late to get them from Bardo. And this year I have 8. And that's a big jump, but I really enjoyed myself. And I got my pigs this time from Bardo, and it's, they're arrived and they're great, and life's good. So, I did have chickens, and I think that there's different animals for different people. I know that Joel Salatin says you're supposed to have all the different ones, but I'm not doing a farm for business. I'm doing a farm for pleasure. And chickens were a lot of work. I like to say that chickens are a wife and pigs are a girlfriend. The pigs are around for 5 months, 6 months, and they're gone. And then you get great, delicious bacon back. The chickens, which Dawn has 70 of, I think, those are just the layers. The meat birds come in 50 at a pop, and we do 2 sets of those every year. And so she's going through something like 200 chickens a year. And that's a lot of work and never stops, and you got to be really dedicated. Whereas my pigs, I do 5 months, and if I decide, I just don't like this pig thing anymore, I can stop anytime I want. You could get breeders. Most people seem to do a few different things. They'll either have, breed pigs. Few people breed pigs, then raise them all the way up. Bardo does that, and like I said, these people do it for profit. This is for amateurs who want to talk numbers and, just how much fun you had doing it. And I had a lot of fun. And this is my wife and child. I can raise a little boy who has, some concept of where his food comes from and has animals to play with, and that's important to me. Many people are into agorism. I'm not a big believer. However, I do everything that the agorists do. I raised and slaughtered my own pigs last year, and the state has not sent me a letter saying, please stop, you're killing us. But, maybe next time. And as far as raising pigs, I think that you need to consider a few things to start with. We spent several $100s setting up our pig pen to start with. This is going to be where your money comes in. We do electric fencing. I am not against pig wire. I think pig wire is a fine idea. The more area that you can fence in, the more area they're going to forage. And forage means food that you don't have to feed them, and it means pigs doing things that pigs like to do. You'll probably want to supplement to some extent, but that's up to you. My pigs always get something sweet every day. I figure, I'm going to assassinate these animals shortly, so life should be good, and I do. I try to make life pretty good for them. They, every once in a while I'll give them a ride on them. They don't like that much, but. And so if you fence in a larger area, they say it's 1,000 pounds of pig per acre is some number somebody told me somewhere, and I believed them. And so, that's as far as forage goes. But I can't imagine just leaving mine, alone for, all that time. Another advantage to feeding every day is when that day comes to slaughter, you want to be able to get them into the trailer easily. This did not work for us the first time. Bill helped me, and it was a challenge to get those pigs into that trailer the first time around. I participated in physical sports in the past. I've wrestled big men and not been scared to do so. I figured, what's this pig weigh, 250 or whatever? Turns out he was 282, by the way. I just stop him and turn him around. I grabbed a hold of that pig, and I don't know what happened, but he didn't slow for a second. And so we had to more coax them in and finally got them in. By the way, this pig had 4 40s of beer. I decided that I was going to give them something nice to drink. The one pig apparently is a teetotaler, and the other pig drank all the beer, and he still was not compliant in the least. Maybe he's a belligerent drunk, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't drunk at all. I have no idea what was going on with this pig. He wasn't staggering, I can tell you that. And so finally we did get them into the trailer. He got out about 2 or 3 times, I can't remember, but because he had been in the same area for so long, he never went past that area, so we just had to move the fencing back around. We were using the electric fence to corral them in, and so anyway, we got them in, and it was fine. I think this time though, we're going to set the trailer up a few days in advance and begin feeding them in the trailer, and then feed them, and then they go in. And I'm just letting you know, I didn't think this was going to be that big of a deal, and it was that big of a deal. So if you, for whatever reason, have an angry drunk pig running around your property, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I should have listened to Mark. And because even with the little piglets, you can't catch a pig. Maybe one pig you can catch, but I had 8 pigs the first day. The Bardo folks didn't. Their pigs are put in pig wire. I use electric fencing. These pigs didn't realize the fence was going to shock them. They just ran straight through it 3 times in the first day. And what are you going to do when you have 8 little 15-pound piglets? You grab one, the rest are going to scatter. So I did find that stomping my feet and clapping my hands and singing was really pretty successful in getting them to come. So try Pied Piper, and that might work. Then again, if it doesn't, good luck. Getting pigs back, not easy. As far as what you need to have to get started, it really depends on what kind of fencing you want to have. When you do electric fencing, you're going to need grounding rods and a variety of things. After I set up my electric fence, I saw this cute little portable electric fence at the feed store for $225 that I kind of wished I had bought. It was neat, and you could move it around. It has, instead of grounding rods, it has stakes that you drive in the ground, and it grounds out that way. If you're going to do one, perhaps you get the portable one, you stick it in the ground, and you kind of move it as he forages in the yard. I don't know how big your areas are, and it depends. Ma'am? Okay, so my wife is bringing up a point that some people are going to agree and some people are going to disagree with. Pigs are social animals, and they do like to have company. We were going to get one initially, and the reason that we didn't get one was because people told us you got to have 2 so that there's competition for food. And supposedly each pig will grow more quickly if there are 2 pigs than if there are 1, because they have to fight over the food, and they'll therefore eat more food more quickly. And you know as well as I do that when you eat quickly, you can put more food down than if you eat slowly, and your stomach figures out that it's coming along. Anyway, I don't know whether or not a pig's going to die of loneliness if you just have one. I mean, I remember Charlotte's Web. He seemed fine. He got to talk to the geese and stuff, and there was the spider and the rat and things. What do I know? We had 2, and now we have 8, and even if they fight and they do fight. Pigs fight, and then they lay in a pile together. So, that's their thing. They're very social animals. So if you have the room to get 2, I do recommend going with 2. We thought about it for a while, and we weren't sure if we were going to go for 2 pigs, and sure enough we did. And I don't think that there was any more work to 2 pigs than there was to 1, except for that one darn pig that last day that was drunk and didn't want to get in the trailer. He was a pain in the ass. Wish we would have got the other pig just by himself. Anyway, and if you have we named the pigs. It was Spot and Ears. One had spots, one had floppy ears. People say don't name your food. Well, I named my food, and we made sure we got Spot at my house. We gave Ears to Dawn and Bill because we liked Ears, and so we don't want to eat Ears. But, Spot, I don't mind. It makes me feel good when I can eat him. I think that there's a nuanced flavor to my pork that's better than regular pork. I don't think that it's heads and shoulders above regular pork, but I do think that it tastes better. Some people will claim you have to finish pigs. I did not finish them. This means for 2 weeks after the last 2 weeks, you give them like nothing but corn. We didn't do that, and my pork's really great. So all we did was we basically did slop. Slop is leftover human food. I think that the key to raising your own animals is either raising your own pigs is either A, having enough room for forage, or B, having some kind of conduit of free slop, because otherwise it gets really expensive feeding these animals pig feed. If you're just going to go to the feed store and you're going to buy it, you're going to spend a lot of money. Our pork for raising our own came to about, if you don't count the fencing, all right? And why wouldn't you? But if you don't count the fencing, at some point or another, the fencing's going to pay for itself over time. But our pork's $2.50 a pound for the pigs what we raised ourselves. If I'm selling them to people, I let people buy in at $500 a pig. No, you cannot buy in. And that's $3.50 a pound. The local folks that run one of these Joel Salatin, I don't know if everybody knows who Joel Salatin is, but he's this sort of libertarian farmer that does his own system. There's some people that are following his system in the next town over. They sell their pork at about $10 a pound. So nothing wrong with it, and lots of the hippies in town come and they spend their money. These people are doing fine. Thank God for them. They're providing a great service. However, it's a lot of money for pork when you're looking at $1.50 a pound at the grocery store. So I think that there's a nuanced flavor that's better. I like the idea that I'm getting all the benefits of having the pork, the pigs there in my life. I feel is better. I do it because I like it, but I think you need to have a conduit for food. It's not that difficult to go to a local grocery store and say, "Hey, I have pigs. Is there some way for me to get some of your leftover stuff?" I've heard people do it and that they're successful at it. I don't have to do it. I have a good friend who works at he's a driver for a grocery supply company, and he's able to pick up old stuff. Most of it's organic, so I can say my pigs are organically raised. Not organic raised, but organically raised. Because the donuts I give them, not organic. But, so we have the conduit and it works for us. So those are the dollars and cents. Does anybody have any questions about raising pigs? I want to make sure that I don't miss anything here. Dan? What's that? Okay, so I've got some stories about pigs eating meat. I'm just going to repeat it. Yeah, okay.
Just wondering if pigs would deal with a woodchuck problem.
I would say that I would not get pigs to deal with a woodchuck problem. However, I know that a large pig will eat just about anything living or dead. A friend of mine said that he had a sow that grabbed a chipmunk right off of her shoulder and ate it. So I wouldn't be surprised for a second if the woodchuck was slow enough that they would eat it. We did get some roadkill, and I tossed it in there for kicks, and they ate some of it? I can't remember what the hell happened. I think I remember pulling a partial possum carcass out of there. Like, they didn't eat everything, but nonetheless, they will eat meat. Do not, I don't give them any pork products, but we got some hamburger and I put that in there and they thought that was great. So these are omnivorous creatures. If there is God, and if he meant us to eat an animal, I believe that it's a pig. We got them after PorcFest, so the beginning of July. PorcFest was a little later then. We got them at the beginning of July. They were about 40 pounds. We processed them on December the 12th, and they were 280 pounds. So nothing can put on meat like a pig can put on meat. I think mine were around 2 weeks longer than they needed to be. Mine were very, there's a lot of fat between my pig and their skin. And this is kind of the way that pigs were raised back in the day. I raised them to what they called market weight, which mostly people don't raise their pigs to market weight anymore. They have porkers and baconers. So they raise baconers. So they raise, you can see in your bacon here that, it'll be like half fat, half meat. My bacon's not. My bacon's like 80% meat. And it's because, my pig has a bigger stomach than the pig that you're eating. The pig that you're eating weighed 140 pounds when it was processed. Mine weighed 280 pounds when it was processed. This is the weight, market weight is the way that a family would have, kept a pig or two and raised them to that size in order to have meat throughout the year. They would have smoked it and that kind of thing. So it's kind of old school to go to market weight. And we didn't process or we didn't slaughter or smoke ourselves. We took it to this hippie slaughterhouse. That's what I like to call it. It's called Adams Farm down in Athol, Mass. It was designed by a woman named Temple Grande, something like that. I don't know if you guys are into that stuff, but she's apparently an autistic woman who claims that she thinks like an animal. So she designs animal places to be more comforting, and it was nice. I mean, the people were kind to me. They said that they would keep I told the guy that to please keep my pigs away from the riffraff, and he said that he'd keep them separate. I saw these other pigs in there, little guys, porkers, but they had been like fighting with each other, and some of the pigs just were scratched up, and I'm like, I don't want my pigs in there like that. So he's like, no, I'll keep them separate. Don't worry about it. And I dropped them off there. I was concerned that I didn't want it to look like a murder. I didn't want to practice on my, killing on my pigs. You're going to have, try to imagine what you have to hang a 280-pound pig. And by the way, he's not going to go quietly. So I don't know, you need to have some kind of, gallows or something in order to be able to do this. What's that? How would you use, go ahead.
Okay. One of the things when you're slaughtering the pigs, after you get them dead, then they have to be lowered into the tank of hot water so you can get the hair off.
Really hot water to get
really
the hair
hot
off.
water. Or you're going to try to skin the whole pig, which is a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah, I have no idea. You want to know how to slaughter a pig? Don't ask me. Go online. I have no clue. Excuse me. But it's, I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want all the blood and the trouble and all that stuff. It cost $225 per pig to send them to the Adams Farm place, and it's $225 well spent as far as I'm concerned. They came back 6 weeks later. They were white wrapped. They smoked the hams. They smoked the bacon, and we've got it in the freezer. Everything's fine 6 months later or whatever, and it's great. I'm going to do it again because I really enjoyed it, and it's worth it. By the way, my pork chops are gigantic. They look like T-bones, and you're not going to find that in the store either. They give you an option of how you want your meat processed. There's like little checklists. It's an order menu of what you want. We got 4 hams and then a whole bunch of sausage. The one thing I would say about the sausage is maybe sausage is a preference thing. There's spices that go into sausage. I think that you'd be best off if you figure out how to make sausage yourself, because we got sausage from there. My wife didn't like the spices. I thought it was fine, whatever, but she didn't like the spices, and obviously if you're going to do this yourself, you should have the meat that really, really makes you happiest. We got a lot of ground pork, and that really worked for us, and that's great. Also, bacon. We got I'm gonna have to put this down for a second, but we got an area of bacon like I felt so rich because bacon's such a nice thing to have, and I had so much of it at once. I felt like a wealthy man, but we had an area of bacon that was quite large. Yeah, that'd be great. So the bacon was like this wide and this tall and this big, just full of bacon. And it's a big area, and it was nice. And by the way, I think the best bacon I've ever had, too. So, you know, I think that for us, it's the benefit of having a little farm and raising our family the way that we want to raise our family. If you're into the agorism thing, there's that, too. There's certainly some money to be made. I'm not going to get rich off of making, I'm going to make a little bit of money off of the $500 pigs that I have. This, by the way, is well below market price, apparently. I really just wanted an excuse to have more pigs and see how that went. We have a much larger area that we're clearing. People, you asked about getting rid of woodchucks. Another thing that people will get pigs for is to get rid of stumps. Don't get pigs to get rid of stumps. Like maybe over the course of a couple of years, if you're raising pigs from, sows and boars, then they will dig a stump up. But don't get pigs to dig up stumps. Get an excavator to dig up stumps. It's a lot cheaper. And finally, we did have some stumps in with the pigs. They dig around them a little bit, but we finally had an excavator come in and then Harley rake it afterwards. So I don't recommend them for that purpose. They do say that you can use pigs and goats together to clear land, that once you take the trees out, to just send the pigs and goats in and they'll clear it out. And the area that we had our 2 pigs, which was about, I think, 50 or 60 diametrical feet, it looked like a bomb went off in there. There was a berm about more than a foot tall all the way around, and they had dug it up. So I felt like that area was still not big enough for 2 pigs. It could have been larger, and that's one of the reasons I've continued to expand my pens. Currently, my little pigs are in a smaller area. I wanted them to be comfortable, get comfortable with a small area, and then when I get back home, I'm going to, make the pen larger, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm still learning in a lot of ways as far as these things go. Any other questions on raising the pigs? Got a question here. Right there.
What do you know now that you didn't know then?
Oh,
What was your big novice mistake?
Everything. It just kept on happening. I think that you need to know, you need to have them ask if the pigs are electric fence trained. This might be something to consider. You got to make sure that when you get them, that if they're electric fence trained, then they won't run through the fence like mine did. This could have been a really bad day, right? Like the pigs were delivered, there were 8 pigs, they could have just wandered off anywhere and maybe into the road or whatever. It was a long way down the driveway, but they did go their way. So anything could have happened. I think that's probably the biggest one. I wanted to touch on worming. And while you're having your breakfast, I'd like to talk about worms. So there's different schools of thought, right? At my house, we have the chief operating officer of my house is big into the whole organic thing, and we don't do the sort of conventional worming. We use diatomaceous earth. This is a bag of apparently prehistoric bugs that they're little carcasses that have been crushed up. You can look up diatomaceous earth if you want to check it out. But I just I just get a scoop of it. I put it on top of their food. They eat it. These things go through, and apparently the carcasses of these bugs, the diatoms, it's like sand spurs in the worms or whatever, and it just kills them off, and that's how it works. So we do it in that method. A lot of times you'll have the option, because piglets should be wormed before you get them, so make sure that they're wormed, I guess is what my my other statement is that if you don't know that they're fixed, if you're getting a male piglet, you want him fixed, because otherwise, what are you going to do with a pair of balls, right? You're going to be out there with a scalpel trying to get balls out of a pig. That's not going to be any fun. You want to make sure that they're wormed, or that you're going to worm them yourself. We didn't get them wormed. And you want to make sure that they're electric fence trained, or that you have some system for it. What we did is we have a bunch of split wood around. We're clearing some land, and we had some split wood, so we just kind of laid the split wood around the fence. Pigs don't look up. They the most for them is like they just can't look up. They're not built for it. Everything for a pig is like from here on down. So if you can get something that's above their little line of sight, and a little piglet, their line of sight is 6 inches off the ground. So if you can get something that's higher than their line of sight, they're not going to try to go through it. So we put the split wood behind the electric fence, and basically they stopped getting out, and that was good for us. So, any other questions? Yep, go ahead, Dan.
Do you have any vet expenses?
None. It would have been the fixing and the worming. No one came out to my property and did anything to the pigs. I didn't have to pay anything for that. The vet expense, there weren't any. They're young animals, and so they're healthy and all the way through. If you're trying to raise them to breeding size or whatever, which is something that I'm nowhere near doing, you're getting into the realm of work now. Then you're going to have that, I would assume. You're going to have older animals. They're going to be living longer, but these animals aren't going to live they're not going to live much more than 6 months. The ones I got were about 12 weeks. Is that right, Laura? Maybe 10 weeks, and then we had them for 5.5 months after that. I mean, you're not talking a very old animal at that point. And the ones that you're eating, like here, they didn't even make it that long. So, as far as expenses go, it's basically where you keep them. Buying the piglet, $100. 70. We got the ones we got initially were $75 because we're no longer spring pigs. We got them late. But the ones we got this time, they were $100 a piece. Worth it, as far as I'm concerned. Getting a little earlier. But $100 for a pig, $225 for processing, whatever it takes for fencing. Do you have a question? Hold on just a second. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you said you took them down to Massachusetts to be slaughtered?
Yeah.
You couldn't get it done locally?
Yes, and I could have gotten it done locally. But remember, I'm local to Mass. I live in the sort of the bottom corner there, so I'm really close to that. It's less than an hour's drive from my house. There were other options for getting them slaughtered. I liked this place because it was like, it was more like a shop. They got a big area, bigger than this. You drive up there, you get the pigs off, they take them off. It's not some guy with a straw hat and a piece of grass in his mouth that comes up and like murders your pig on your property for you. And different story. And I liked the sort of the philosophy behind it. Their slaughterhouse with the caring for the animals and things like that. My policy is my animals are we back? Oh, okay. My policy is my animals are going to have a really good life and one bad. And that exactly is that timer running out? Oh, is the battery? I don't know. Okay. So anyway, that's the reason that I chose to take them down there. It's just across the state line, and I don't live too far from the state line anyway. So we'll get another question here when you get a chance.
You may have already touched on it. I might have missed it.
Into the microphone. I can't hear you.
Between the spring pig and the $100 pig and the $75 pig, what was the difference there?
It was basically the timing in which you get them, supply and demand, right? So in spring, demand for pigs is higher than summer, and so this sow had pigs a little late, and that makes her piglets worth less. I know it's rude of her and everything, but she came in late, and that was it. And so they had a couple of pigs left. And that's why. Basically, I'm saying is that the cheapest you're going to get a piglet is $75, and the most expensive you probably have to pay is $100. Around here, I don't know what it's like trying to buy a pig in New York State or something. In New York City, it's going to be near impossible. If you live in New York City, I recommend against this. You got to have some area. My wife wants to talk about shelter. I still don't know what shelter is appropriate for pigs. We had Jack had a little we picked up a playhouse at the local, what we call a transfer station, but it's basically a small dump. And it was some other kid's little playhouse, and we grabbed it, and so Jack could have it. And he seemed to have very little interest in this plastic playhouse. His 12 square feet of palatial, secluded woodland cabin in near Keene, New Hampshire. He didn't like it. He just didn't do much with it. So we used the little kid playhouse for the pigs, and they liked it. And it was great for two little pigs, so we figured they'd outgrow it, but they never outgrew it. They just kept going back in. These 280-pound hogs would sleep on top of each other in a little pink kid's playhouse. And when it was feeding time, the door was more narrow than the pig, and so they'd come out on top of each other, but the door was rather tall, and so they'd come out on top of each other through the thing, and like just the poor playhouse was I'd have to go in there at least once a week and put the thing back together again, because it would come apart. But they liked it, and that's where they wanted to be, and so I kept putting it back together. I don't know, they like shelter. I don't think that they necessarily need it, but I don't know that I would put them right out in the sun the whole time either. At Bardo, they've got trees, but they have no shelters except for the what they call a barrow house for the females when you have to have shelter for females if you're breeding. And I think you should have some kind of shelter, even if it's just hay bales put together in some way. They need some kind of shade. Hey, bub. Yeah. By the way, he got the vanity gene. He likes attention as much as his daddy does. And so, as far as shelter goes, I think you need to put something together for shelter. They like it, but they're still going to sleep in a pile in there. Also, when getting something to put water in, go bigger rather than smaller, because they're not going to just drink out of it. They're going to use it like a swimming pool. And why not? Why not let them have it? We bought this, I think it was $75 for a 50-gallon, I don't know, it looks like a little pond, a little black, it's kind of this ovular shaped thing. And for a long time you could get two pigs in that too, or they would get in themselves. Any other questions? I think shelter was a good question. Who's thinking about doing this? What draws you to the ideas of right here, guy with the beard? What draws you to the idea of having pigs?
I just want to raise my own animals, and I know exactly where my food's coming from.
Yeah, I think that this is a big issue. A lot of people, they want to know, where does my food come from? And for us, it's how is my food, for us at my house, it's how is our food treated? And what's the, Jack, be careful.
I'm horrified by the corporate farms.
Yeah, it's a really, I saw the same movie. I sincerely hope the things that go on in those corporate things did not go on with my pigs when they were taken to the hippie slaughterhouse. Like, that's my biggest concern about my whole process, was what happened in that 24 hours that my pigs were at that place. I can tell you that the gentleman let the guy that helped me on, I don't know what his name is, the paid killer there at the slaughterhouse. He let me get my pigs off myself. There was a family, a couple that was looking to get their pigs done. They were sort of looking on and seeing how it was all done. So, maybe they were sort of, just being nice to the citizen farmer or whatever, the gentleman farmer. Maybe this is their policy. I don't know what happened once those doors closed. But I hope and think that they did pretty well. They seem to be, they certainly market themselves as having a philosophy of humanity. And that's important to me. What are you doing with your son here, lady? Can I have a kiss? Now get off the stage. So, for us it's just, Jody's got a question here. Get the microphone back to Jody Underwood. I don't know what kind of question she could possibly have.
Why don't you harvest the pigs yourself?
What's that?
Why don't you harvest the pigs yourself?
Why don't I? I'm just scared of doing it. I need to set up an area that's gonna, you can hang a pig. Some kind of thing from which you can hang a pig. We just built a play set for Jack out of some trees that we had taken down, and this thing, you could shoot this thing to the moon. It's built so well. you could probably do it on that, but then I've murdered an animal on my son's play set, so I don't know. it's the only thing at our house besides the rafters in our cabin that could handle a 280-pound creature. I'd be interested in seeing how that was done. I wanted to go into this step by step and slowly, and like how are we gonna make those pork chops nice and flat? I don't know. Certainly, when you get meat, it doesn't just slide out sliced, and so I needed to. I want to figure this stuff out. There are some folks that have offered to help with this, and I'm still a little scared.
Mark, that's the butchering part, not the slaughtering part.
Okay, so.
And we use a tractor to hold them up.
So you just get them over something strong. Yeah, you like hook them through their legs.
On the tractor, yeah. We tie something around a hind leg. Hook it onto the tractor and just
hoist them up.
Yeah. That's it.
We now have a small tractor that might pull a pig up, but I don't know. Oh, the bucket. I see. She's lifting the off the front end loader. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I don't have that capacity. And that tractor, $11,000 or something like that. I mean, it's not going to be cheap. New, it's going to be more than that. And I wouldn't get it necessarily. Look at getting it new. Could you bring the microphone up here? Apparently my wife has a question.
I was just going to say that, if you're going to do this, you have to look at all of the costs, and one of the costs is going to be getting a trailer and taking them to market, or building a structure and doing it yourself. For us, we're lucky enough to have friends that have people who have friends of friends who have trailers and have all of this equipment, and we're able to borrow, and so that is why it works for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of community support in what we do. As we had talked about earlier, I go to Dawn's twice a year to process chickens. I don't do that because I like sticking my hand in the cadaver of a chicken. I do that to support my neighbors in their farming processes, so that when it comes time to take my pigs to market, her husband feels some kind of bond or obligation to help me. And because this is not something that you can really do on your own. There's a reason the Amish get together and build these barns, is because you can't build a barn by yourself. And I don't think that this isn't the lone bearded guy in the woods getting away from, not that epic beards aren't great, getting away from everything. This is more of a community activity, and we slowly eased into it, seeing that there's support for us in the community. We're near Keene. I don't live in Keene. I don't like paying taxes. Thanks, Vern. But we live, just outside of Keene, and it's an agricultural community. And so we have friends that are very plugged in, and we get the organic raw milk, or somebody wants to call it fresh milk. I think that's a better way to brand it. We get the organic fresh milk, and it's a whole community. If we don't have these vegetables, they do, and trade them back and forth and things like that. So that's our policy. Any other questions on raising pigs? Got another one here? Excellent. You guys are great. Thank you very much.
Are they pets in any sense? Do you
Yeah.
spend time with them and play with them and stuff like that?
Yes. People say not to do this. If I can't enjoy the animal on my property, I'm not going to have the animal. Maybe I'm a psychopath, right? Like maybe I can have fun with my animals and play with them and name them and, do all these things and then eat them later, murder them and eat them, and it doesn't bother me. I don't know it, but I can do that, and it does, yes, I'm not going to have an animal that I don't enjoy. Why in the world would I have an animal I don't enjoy? Why would you have an animal you don't enjoy? But I did name them. I did play with them. There was, the one was friendlier than the other. I'd go out and I'd ride them in front of, try to get some video of me riding a pig. And, a full-grown pig, by the way, he's fine. And they don't like it much, and you don't stay on long. But, I got out there, I got muddy, I fell in pig poop, whatever, I don't care. Doing anything in the pig pen is impossible. Once these animals are big enough, they'll chew on the shovel They'll bite the head of the hammer. You can't do anything in there because they're just so busy. You have to have your wife distract them with food so that you can do something in the pen if you've got to fix anything, because you just can't get anything done. You are their source of food, and you are interesting. So they're going to be sticking their nose in your butt and chewing on your pant leg and the whole thing. They're very, very inquisitive animals, and they like to have new things. Apparently, they're fond of bowling balls. I didn't know this, and I'm going to try to find some old bowling balls, but they like to push them around. We had a beach ball in there that they played with for a little bit, and anything that gets left in the pen is a toy. So give them things that you don't mind having destroyed, and they will do that. And they're kids, right? Like, they're only 7 months old, 8 months old at the oldest, and they like to play. Any other questions? Nope.
How many acres do you have?
We have 11 wooded acres, but there's nowhere near that for the pigs. We've just kind of been carving out trees. We're taking out a whole bunch of them right now. So I'm going to have about 1.5 acres cleared in front, and maybe I hope to have a full acre for the pigs after that. And as I understand, when you have that large of an area, that you kind of have to section it off and move the pigs from section to section. Otherwise, they will work some areas more than they'll work others. If you want the land worked evenly, and there's some benefit to that, I guess, you'll have to move them from section to section, so maybe 4 different sections, and move them, as time goes by. And that's not that difficult with electric fencing. You can kind of move stuff around. It doesn't have to be in a permanent area. Like I said, for the 2 pigs, I had 60 diametrical feet, not a big, gigantic area. You basically have to have the ability to, raise them in there. They're not very noisy, like roosters. They don't shut up. They start at 4 a.m. and keep going all day. They keep going in earnest until say 10, and then they don't. They still make noise throughout the rest of the day. Pigs, they don't make that much noise. I don't think they'll bother your neighbors if you're relatively close. Oh, I've got another one. Okay.
Is the waste good compost?
Yeah, it's great. I didn't do anything with mine. I just kind of, yes, the waste is great compost. It's the very best compost, especially if you're using organic foods like I did. And I highly recommend it. They say that a cow is now worth more for its poop than it is for its meat. And I believe them.
I didn't hear if you said it earlier, but what kind of pigs are you raising?
What kind of pigs? Yeah. So because it's getting more, there's getting more and more of these gentleman farmers. I keep using this term. What this means to me is somebody who's not in it for the money. But because there's more and more of those, people are getting into pig breeds, and that different breeds have different traits. Some are better rooters, others grow faster, some are good mamas, and just a variety of different things that you might want a pig breed for. I didn't look at any of that. I just got sort of the mutt pigs that are very common. The mutt pigs we're all eating, just whatever. It's just these were litter mates. One had ears that pointed up straight and had spots. The other one had no spots and his ears flopped down. So these are mutt pigs, and we're all mutt people. We're still fine. I didn't do it. I can totally understand. If I were to do a breeding operation, I would probably do this simply to be able to say, oh, yes, well, I have Hampshires. My boar is 1,100 pounds. By the way, if you have once the little boy pigs are cut, you are committed. If you do not, everybody knows eunuchs get fat, right? This animal will grow to 1,500 pounds and be completely useless. His meat will be not as good as it was previously. Once the little testicles are gone, the die is cast and he's going to the slaughterhouse. You need to be committed in that area. That's important. Otherwise, you've got a real big useless animal in your hands, and he's gonna be so fat he can't move.
You mentioned different varieties of pigs. Do you have? We have a Department of Natural Resources in Michigan that's coming down with a hammer on us. Do you have anything like that in New Hampshire? The nanny state clipboard types coming around?
There are state boards. I was told to contact them regarding some, taking down some trees, and yes, we do have that. No, I haven't talked to them. I just raised 2 pigs by myself, and well, not by myself, on my own land, and it was, it was just a fun little hobby. I think that if you're a, bigger time farmer, you're going to need stuff like that. Did Varian have a question? Was Varian here? What did he do? Run off? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure this is a dumb question, and I apologize for missing your the beginning here. And you probably
plenty of other people
answered.
missed the beginning too. Don't worry about it.
So I'll ask on behalf of everybody: Do you send all of yours to market, or do you trade with the rest of us?
I'm sorry. Send it to market or what?
Do you send it all to market, or do you trade directly with the rest of us if we're interested?
Okay. Yes, you could sell your pigs to the slaughterhouse. I had no interest in doing that. Obviously, I raised my pigs in order to eat my pigs, and I only had 2. So, what am I going to make on that? $1.50. The people that do this for a living have hundreds and hundreds of animals, and maybe thousands of animals. That's the only way you're going to make this work. I have no idea how to run a financially successful farm. If you know some tricks, let me know, because we spent several $100s, many $100s on the fencing, and then at this point, actualizing fencing and stuff like that, my pigs are phenomenally expensive, and I don't mind. In the same way, I don't mind spending money on my dog, taking it to the vet. This is what I intended to do, but it doesn't make sense financially. My policy is when people come to the house and I can give them a pound of sausage that I raise there, that's a really powerful thing. It's a way to connect with your neighbors in a way that you can't do now. Yeah, I raise this meat here on this land. It's so much more valuable than a pound of sausage that you got from the grocery store. That would be weird, like to hand somebody like a tin of canned ham. Here you go. But if you raise it yourself, it really means something. Any other questions? Hold on. We're saving this for posterity. My wife knows nothing about microphones.
So Varen, basically what we did was we got 2 pigs. We wanted 1. We've heard that they were social animals. We got 2. We kind of convinced Dawn and Bill to take 1. So we went ahead and raised the 2, took them to get them processed. Dawn took 1, we took 1. This year we have 8 because so many people found out that we were doing it and wanted, and I'm sorry I didn't think of you guys, wanted to be a part of it. So we have basically said, okay, we'll raise 8 this year, and so we have some people who are the same as Dawn and Bill are going to take, they'll take 1, we'll take 1, and so we ended up with 8 this year.
You need more than 1 pig. 1 pig isn't going to make you through. Maybe 1 guy might be able to scrimp and make it on 1 pig, but we're going to be. That pig filled that freezer, filled a stand-up freezer just about. You might be able to get a pig and a half in a freezer. I got the fat back and gave it to Mandrick to process. I don't know exactly what people do with fat back, but I have no interest in smoking up the kitchen, and. I think it's about a pig. I would guess like a pig and a half per, maybe a pig per person, pig and a half per person, somewhere in there for a year's worth of meat. We've stopped. We eat less beef than we used to now as a result of having a bunch of pork around. Rather than saying making spaghetti sauce with hamburger, we make it with ground pork. Why not? Looking at raising pigs, I see what an incredibly inefficient animal a cow is to eat. If it wasn't for the government subsidies, you'd be paying like $25 a pound for beef, and it's incredibly sort of expensive and inefficient. That's the reason I think that very few people around the world eat cows. That's goats and pigs and chickens are the meat of the world, and I'm fine with eating more pork. Torture me with pork. No, not more bacon. More questions? Okay.
Regarding the fatback, I was going to ask you about other parts of the pig that you eat and stuff. So the fatback, what you do is you render it to make lard and you cook with it. So I call that my free cooking oil. And you can do it without making a big mess. When I first wanted to do it, Bill said, well, you have to do that outside. And I said, what? I'm not doing it outside. So I looked online, and you can do it in a crock pot. So it's contained, and it doesn't, smoke around your house or anything, and it's awesome. You get this lovely white lard to cook with. And it's supposed to be really good for pie crust. I don't do that. But what other parts of the pig, would you use that, for either your dog or for yourself or whatever that maybe you wouldn't think of, so there's not a lot of waste?
One thing that we do with the help of Dawn and Bill, I don't think we could do this. Like I said, this is a community operation for us. We feed the dogs raw food. One real kind of neat advantage is my dog's breath doesn't smell. She doesn't have like the tartar on her teeth and that kind of thing, and it's, stinky animals aren't as pleasant as not stinky animals. And so we feed them this raw food. Many of the organs of the animal that I would not otherwise eat, I was raised like I think the average person was. I don't like organ meat. I'm not interested in organ meat. But the dog, she thinks it's wonderful. I got that pig heart and I cleaved it into pieces and I, throw it out there, and she thinks it's just great. And same with the livers and all that stuff. Somebody probably has a really great recipe for pig liver. I'm just not that interested in it. As far as bones and things like that, we didn't get that many of them back from the processing joint. I'm going to try to get more of that stuff this time. But the Element, I have a Honda Element, and it got kind of full bringing back 2 pigs. I can only imagine. I think we're going to be able to get the remains of 8 pigs back in the Element, but it's going to be close. And I wonder about the suspension of the vehicle. Yeah. So, Dawn and Bill have a big diesel that we can borrow to pull the trailer, and their friend has a trailer. This is going to be, I think, a 4-horse trailer that we're going to put these 8 pigs in. Previously, we put 2 pigs in a 2-horse trailer, and we probably could have gotten 4 in there. So call it 2 pigs per horse. Any other questions on the pigs? Anything I've missed? Varen, anything that you forgot about that you didn't want to? Okay. All right. Thanks very much. That's my speech on pigs.